All right, it looks like we're finally hitting past the 7 p.m. SGT mark here. And it looks like Julian and Aaron have finally joined us. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone for coming in here today. I think this AMA, our monthly AMA for June, may be the month that we have the most updates to give you guys. So it's going to be a really interesting one. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our speakers, which is, of course, CEO and co-founder Julian Kwan, alongside with iXwap co-founder Aaron Ong. And before we formally begin this AMA, I'd like to thank everyone again for coming in and listening to us tonight. But most importantly, thank you so much to the iXS community for always believing in the team. And I guess with your belief in us, we're finally going to see that pay off. Yeah, so before we begin, I think I'll pass it over to you, Julian and Aaron, if you guys want to give a few words for the community.
Cool. Thanks, Gene. Aaron, I'll go first. Maybe I can drop a bit of kind of macro RWA industry stuff, and then you can lead us into the product developments, platform develops partnerships as well before we get into some Q&A. So thanks, Gene, for putting it on, and welcome everybody here. We have a lot more people following on the recordings than we do who can make this exact time because the IXS community is global. Spans across the world. We get a lot of great messages every day from people in all parts of the universe. So hi again. I think it's a super interesting time in the RWA space. We've seen an explosion of new projects, which is inevitable. I think there's been an explosion of on-chain action related to treasuries, money market funds, financial instruments that Wall Street's using, including the crypto hedge funds, who are investing in these short-term yield-bearing instruments to make money between trades. They've probably had a big surge of buyers in the last 24, 48 hours with the recent, crypto meltdown on the prices. But what's, I think, exciting for us is that, the platform that we began over 3.5 years ago, I guess, just over 3 years ago, was built to help all these projects and all these products. Once people have a real asset equity token, a security token, they can start a legal pool and trade on iXwap. The community might be slightly, well, put it this way. When we started iXwap, we were just focused in on become the Uniswap for real world asset tokens. And that is still, one of our main missions. But what we found for many years was that a lot of the real world asset tokens were not of the wrong quality, were on the wrong protocols, didn't have the right teams, didn't actually, wasn't worth in buying or investing. And that's where we ended up building our launchpad to create. And the launchpad, where you launch your first offering, was initially built out of necessity to help create more liquidity pools, so more assets, which we managed to pull together. So all of that was the journey of what iXwap became a lot more robust in terms of what it was offering. And now it's moved further along that journey to secure all its own licenses, and then further along that journey to start to launch, a lot more real world asset tokens. Again, with the same goal of becoming the biggest secondary trading venue that is agnostic to everyone in the space. So anyone who has a real world asset token is welcome on iXwap. We are asset agnostic. We are structure agnostic. We don't care what the underlying company vehicle is. And I think that that's one of the big tell signs in the current market, that although it sounds like there's loads of projects out there, most of them don't have anything. If they did, they're welcome to come to iXwap. And if they don't, if they haven't brought their assets to the platform, there's probably two reasons. One is that they don't need secondary trading because it's not that type of asset. And the best example for that is the treasuries, the Ondo, these money market funds. They are very liquid. You don't need to buy secondaries. You just go and buy and sell it. So they don't really need the secondary trading. But then they're just one asset class in many asset classes in the real world asset space. The other groups that are all claiming to have launched tokens, then if they have, then why can't we see them? Why aren't they coming to us? Why don't they want secondary trading? And the answer is they probably would like it, but they just don't have much there. But so what that means is that we're starting to see, the RWA. I say this about several times a day, but I'll probably repeat it here. That there's a big misunderstanding that RWA tokens, RWA utility tokens, are the reward asset tokens, and that's not correct, right? The utility token of an RWA platform, IXS is the best example in this phone call. It's the native token of our platform. You can use it for benefits, rewards, etc. It itself is not a real world asset token, because a real world asset token would be a share of a company, a share of a startup, a tokenized real estate, a tokenized startup, whatever it is, tokenized private credit, etc. So the market over this year, let's go back, a month or two ago, the RWA utility tokens have been pumping, right? They're the second best performing kind of crypto assets behind meme coins. But what most people don't understand is that the purpose of the RWA utility token is to use it on the platform and to use it on the RWA platform. So the Ondo token is meant to be used on Ondo platform. IXS token meant to be used on IXSwap platform. But so the interesting part about that is that nearly all the RWA platforms that are selling real world asset tokens today, where you can go and buy a tokenized treasury money market fund, they're not available to all investors. It's only for accredited and institutional investors. So then you have all of these communities seemingly supporting this utility token, but they can't even buy the real world asset token. I think that's a shame, and I think people should learn more about that and should understand that, because although everyone's buying and selling crypto and everyone wants to speculate and everyone loves pumping and everyone loves screaming about it, you may as well, if you believe in real world asset industry, you may as well buy a utility token that actually has utility for you, if you can choose that. And our IXS does, because we've built a system where everyone with a photo ID, as in anybody, basic KYC, less KYC than you'd find on Binance or Coinbase setting up today. You can buy an equity token of a startup or a fund with one USDT. Therefore, if you support IXS as a utility token, it has real utility for you, because you can actually use it on the platform. If you're a retail investor, and I'm not going to pick on Ondo, but they've got a great platform, they're doing very well. It's just different. You buy an Ondo token retail investor, you can't buy the actual real asset token. So it doesn't have a use for you other than speculation. Again, speculation is great. That's all part of the industry. But if you can have speculation plus utility, I think that's why IXS as a token and as a platform is very unique. That aside, I think it's important to lay out there that we've been building in this space for 3 years now, 3+ years. That's on the IXSwap side. Some of the team was also working on InvestorX. They were the first builders in RWA space since 2017, 18 in Asia. So we've been at this a very long time. I think it's exciting to see now all different types of products coming down to the platform. We're really focused on startups, because we believe that tokenizing equity in Web3 and other types of startups is very valuable and never been accessible to retail investors before, until now. We're working with a lot of venture capital firms and accelerators now, looking to onboard a whole new wave of startups that launch on the IXSwap launchpad, and they allow everyone to invest, again, with one USDT, one USDC, whatever the currency is, and gives real ownership to the community, apart from just trying to sell people the ICO, the cryptos, right? So the point of this is that this will build a stronger startup, because you have a distributed ownership, real ownership, because there's this false narrative that if you in cryptocurrency, you need to buy the utility token that holds all the value. But if you peel off the layers and you go and look at what's really happening, all the venture capital firms are sitting on the equity side of those protocols, Web3 startups. So they wouldn't be there if there was no value. And so the point I'm making is we're bringing out a whole new way of raising money for startups by building not just VCs on your cap table and then shilling everyone your cryptocurrency. Give real ownership to your community. That means they will be stronger. They will support that. It will drive the business, whether it's a protocol or a Web3 startup or a service company, whatever it is. And then you can start to couple that together with the tokenization of everything. If you hold an equity token. You can get access to the ICO. You get a special NFT drop. This whole tokenization of everything is finally coming to fruition. And it's much better, I think, more powerful for the startups to have this type of equity cap table. Because the example that I like to give is if you could get $1 million from one VC, which is what some people do, or you could have $100,000 from a VC. It's good to have professional investors doing the negotiations, determining the valuations, etc. And then you had $900,000 again from an extreme example, had 900,000 equity holders. So you literally sold 900,000 real world asset equity tokens. Now instead of having one shareholder trying to help you with the business, you got 900,001 shareholders. Right? That's the thinking that we need to share with everyone. This is going to be really, really exciting. I'm planning on building up my own portfolio of all these kind of really interesting startups. And the second most important part is that it plugs into the AMM. Then you can start to trade these straight away. So if you think about the old way of investing in startups, it was sign a piece of paper and cross your fingers and wait 10 or 20 years and hopefully get an exit. That's generally how it goes, and 99% fail. The new way of doing it is buy a real world asset equity token on IX Swap, and then next week when the funding finishes, it's trading. And that's not a 0 to 1 benefit. That's like 100 times better. So we're going to start to see that. A lot of interesting stuff there. A lot more just closed. I think the tokenized vehicle that Coach K, the KOL, is going to be driving and investing in a whole bunch of gaming tokens and private sales. So that had nearly over, I don't know the exact numbers. I think last time it was nearly 400 investors. They could invest $1, $1 USDT, and you can buy a tokenized share of this vehicle, this company that's going to go invest in all these amazing deals. And that is also going to be tradable. And that is now, again, the access for everyone for $1 real world asset token, not just some fluff that everyone can get, that you can trade in an investment strategy that people want. Like if anyone knows anything about investing in crypto, the best deals always go to the KOLs and the influencers, and then that's the whole point of this, that the investors get to run alongside of that and behind that, and it's instantly tradable versus a normal fund type structure, which could be holding your money for 7, 10, 15 years. Like in the traditional finance, that's how long it takes to get out of the VC fund, 15 to 18 years. So that's been happening. The platform, people, the team's been building quite furiously. We've been doing a lot of travel around the region. We've got some fantastic devs across Asia and a little bit beyond. And I've been going for about 10 minutes. So I think there's a ton of updates now. I'm going to pass the microphone to Aaron. He might give you some actual details about a lot of these updates, and then we can talk about we can answer some of the questions.
Cool. Thanks, Jules. And thanks everyone for joining today. So I'll just give you guys a couple of updates. Well, there's a lot of updates that's been going on the last couple of months since we last updated you guys. So let me just start with the incentive program, because I've been seeing a lot of questions about it. So we've been, I think most of the community knows that we are building a staking system that's going to be airdropping RWA assets that we're launching off IXS. The incentive program that we're building now, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yes, the staking will be one part of it, which is being built right now. But there's also an MLM system that's going to be coming along with that, and that will be due in about 1.5 months. That's just phase one of the build up for the incentive program. The phase two for the incentive program is actually connecting it to platforms like Zealy and TaskOn, where users can start completing on-chain tasks and start accumulating points and start receiving rewards from the Access platform. So that's going to be, I guess, quite important for us to drive user engagement and user acquisition on the platform. And beyond that, I guess you guys have also been seeing, we've been teasing Base quite a fair bit. There's been a lot of development going on. We've actually finished building a bridge, and we've also finished building a liquidity bootstrapping platform similar to Fort Foundry. Both of those platforms are going under UAT at the moment. Once the internal UAT is done, we're going to be doing a bug bounty for both those platforms, so you guys can test it out before we do the whole base migration. So the base migration is going to be coming in a couple different parts. The reason why we're actually delaying it for a while is that we want the staking and incentive system to be up and running before we launch the bridge onto Base. And
Really, the main reason for that is that we don't want to build a bridge and then you guys bridge your assets across and then there's nothing to do there. It's like tokenization to nothing again, which doesn't add any value. So we want this staking system up and ready by the time we do the migration, and hopefully the launchpad will be migrated across at the same time, depending, I guess, the dev development time that they have right now, because there's still a bunch of stuff going on. So other than, I guess, other than the base migration, there are a couple of build outs that's happening at the moment as well. I think we've spoken about a couple of different SaaS developments that's happening. The one of the SaaS development is about to get completed already, and that's for a real estate group out of Thailand. We have another two contracts signed already for SaaS development, so that's going to come right after, I guess, right after this current SaaS build is getting built out. The SaaS build outs, and how it works is that the clients are actually using our backend engine, meaning our compliance, our tech, and our legal framework for the platform and our sort of investment documentation as well. And simply what they're doing is that they are changing the UI and the front end of IXSwap, and they're still using the exact same facilities. So the big difference between their platform, what their platform look like and ours, is that their platforms will only be able to see their deals, but IX's main platform will be seeing all the deals from all the platforms, and we're aggregating basically all the deals and all the DEX pools across everything. So hopefully, once I guess these SaaS clients start building out their platforms, to start seeing a larger amount of issuances and DEX trading pools in the platform as well. So that's on the SaaS side. On the sales side, not sure if you guys have seen, but we closed the CKGP deal yesterday. It took us a little bit of time, but we finally got it closed. Raised $500,000 in the platform, so that's pretty much, we've doubled our TVL in just that one deal. We are hopefully going to see a lot more deals coming through as well as it progresses. I think we've mentioned this before as well. When we first started the Launchpad, we were more focused on getting every single deal successful. But going forward, we're going to be acting more as a platform for the issuers to launch any deal they want off the platform. They'll be in charge of their raise. We'll provide the tech, we'll provide the licenses, we'll provide marketing support, but we won't be actively soliciting for any of these deals. So hopefully, going forward, you'll be seeing a lot more deals on the platform. This month alone, you'll probably see another 2 more deals coming out. One which is just launched today. It's a tokenized deal for a Casper wine. And that's with a Korean group that we've been speaking to for almost, I guess, half a year already right now. There's going to be another launch that's coming out, I guess, in 2 weeks' time on the platform. That's going to be tokenized content of Korean IP, tokenized IP content of Korean social media and YouTube channels. That one sounds it's actually quite interesting as well. And I guess beyond that, we are pushing quite hard on user acquisition on, I guess, our core markets. I mean, you guys have seen that we've been pushing quite hard in Korea, Philippines, and Vietnam. And we are currently formulating plans to actually go push a lot harder on the user acquisition side. We did a test run with the CKGP deal, and I felt that was quite successful. We had about 400 investors that went to that deal, which is way more than any VC would probably get when they first launch any deals themselves. So that's been quite positive for us thus far. I think those are the major updates from my side. Julian, do you think I missed out on anything else?
Well, I just touched base on a few of the important ones. The LBP liquidity bootstrapping pool kind of mechanism has come to life this cycle, I guess. There's a few elements to it. I think what's valuable for it is it creates more of a fair launch system without the fun and games of seed rounds, pre-seed, pre-private, and all these deals where the general crypto community just is the exit liquidity for the bigger guys at the front. So we've developed the first LBP structures for real-world asset tokens. So Fjord Foundry has it. They're not allowed to launch equity tokens. It's just crypto, right? No securities. So I'm super excited to see how this kind of rolls out. It also allows us to create pools faster, quicker, which I think is really, really valuable and will play out over time. There is a ton of people. I'd also like to say, there's a ton of people as we all know, in crypto, who'll say anything and lie through their teeth. I'm not going to name specific people because then other communities lose their marbles. But um, we, we are um, we are the only group that I'm aware of, especially in our industry here, that is invested by Coinbase. And we've got our base rollout coming now, which is very interesting. Why I think base is, and if you're a professional investor, you never ever partner or invest in two platforms in the same space next to each other. It makes zero sense. It never happens. If anyone else is saying that, it just shows that they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. That aside, base to me has been very, very interesting. If anyone saw the Coinbase notes from the event they did last week, Brian Armstrong said that base is the most exciting thing Coinbase is working on. And Coinbase is working on a lot of different things. But I was just excited when I heard about base a while ago as well, because when you think about layer two solutions, most of them, if not all of them, have been built via the standard ICO token launch. And when the incentives for the founders are gone, i.e., they've sold all their tokens, so goes the solution, generally speaking. So we originally started on Base and Polygon, and Polygon, I think, testnet doesn't even really work properly today. And why Base is different is there's no token yet, but it's purely built by Coinbase as part of the rails to make everything easier for everyone buying and selling everything, right? Coinbase wallets, Coinbase protocols, a lot easier to convince big investors. If you issue a real world asset on a protocol that Coinbase built, it's probably going to be, in brackets, safer, easier to understand, better than whatever, some other random one they don't understand. So the key to this is that this infrastructure is stitching it together to bring more of the Web 2 UX UI user interface to all the Web 3 assets, because whether you love or hate Web 3 UX UI, it's a journey, and it's often difficult for people to understand. And I'm talking about normal people. I'm not talking about people that sit there trading crypto for 25 hours a day. So you need to have more basic Web 2 experience to bring on a lot more people a lot more rapidly. At the end of the day, to me, it doesn't really matter. Like how you click a button this way or that way, to me, literally, I don't care. Make it as easy as possible for people to get more people involved, and then it's really more about the excitement of what's happening around all the assets. So I think that is a telling sign, and we were early out in front with this, and we're not just putting out some blasé statement about we're going to base. Like we're building it throughout our whole systems, which is really exciting, legitimate, but we still stay protocol agnostic because these technologies change over time. It's a great example now. Base wasn't around before, Polygon was dominating, and now it's flipping. It's doing a flipping. So we stay kind of agnostic on that front, but we keep looking at building out like the most interesting and exciting path forward. Probably the most frustrating part for IXSwap is that previously people used to say it was ahead of its time. That's not true. It would have been ahead of its time if we didn't see everything we've seen, the real things going on in the real world asset space this year. Because at the end of the day, all the reality is that Uniswap and FTX and Binance and all the big DeFi crypto guys have all tried to launch real world asset tokens, but they've had to pull them down because they didn't do it properly and they didn't get licensed. They didn't run it. They didn't run the system properly. So now it's a 2.0 of this situation, where you have, again, Coinbase building out Real World Exchange in Abu Dhabi. We're talking to them on multiple different fronts because they're investors in our company, and Coinbase Asset Management, and the head of tokenizations, and many, many different fronts. But you also have PDAX, which is coming down the pipeline. There's some talk about these cryptocurrency exchanges. So PDAX is the first cryptocurrency exchange in the world that I'm aware of that secured securities license so they could legally sell RWA as well as crypto, but it's very focused on the treasury market and the bond market, which is again the opposite spectrum of us. So we have multiple discussions going with multiple cryptocurrency exchanges around the world who want to sell real world assets or already are. right? And for those that don't know, FTX, Binance, Bitfinex, and others, they launched tokenized stocks in 2021, 2022. They just didn't have any licenses. So we've now had an iteration of all of that. And Coinbase invested in us in 2021, and we were hoping to do a lot more with them earlier. But they've been under attack with the SEC for so long. They were even forced to start their first real world asset platform out in Abu Dhabi. I'm sure they would prefer to have started it in New York. But again, it's all promising and positive. Those relationships are nuanced. There's a lot to work through. Cryptocurrency exchanges have just spent the best part of 3, 4, 5 years, the bigger ones, getting licenses, getting some license, getting chased around the world. They know how hard it is, and it's only specifically for crypto. And every single asset typically has its own licensing. So if you've got a cryptocurrency license, you can't sell securities. If you've got a securities license, you can sell crypto. If you've got a commodities license, etc. So that's generally how it works, which is why we've just seen recently, as in last week, I think, Robinhood, stock focused business, has put a bid to buy Bitstamp, right? And that makes a lot of sense because they want to see those crypto assets on their platform. Bitstamp's been around getting licenses, etc., been around forever. I've used Bitstamp 10 years ago, and that's not an endorsement either, but I've used Bitstamp, been around for a long time. There's the convergence of the TradFi guys are buying into launching, trying to get into more and more real world assets. Everyone from obviously BlackRock, which everyone knows about, Franklin Templeton, and there's hundreds and hundreds of companies behind them that didn't want to be first, they want to be second. So you've got that dynamic in play. And then you've got the Coinbases of this world and the PDACs of this world. And I'm not going to name a bunch of others, but they're the biggest ones in the world. They're all launching, working out, trying to launch. How do you get these real world assets on the platform? And the reason that's pretty simple to understand is because when you have a big audience, I think Coinbase push 110 million, you want to sell them more things, right? And so they've already got Bitcoin, they've already got altcoins, and they've already got stable coins. And what's next is the bigger universe. And I'll say that again, the real world asset tokenization industry, far bigger than the crypto asset because it's all the real world assets. It's just bigger. Not to say anything negative about crypto. So the bigger universe of assets is now coming in the right format, which is tokenized on the right rails, i.e. public blockchains, not private chains. And that's even why BlackRock and Franklin Templeton have all completely flipped 180 and said it's all about issuing real world assets on public chains to connect with the power of crypto, decentralized finance, other platforms, and essentially create much, much bigger distribution channels. And that whole is starting to play out now. So all that is very exciting. So the updates that have come down, kind of just a bit of a wrap up, is an insane amount of product being developed. Teams just been pushing super hard. Obviously, marketing and Gene and team, there's more and more clients who have signed up to launch real world assets on Axelock, like real clients that have launched tokens. We've actually launched tokens, and if you love real world asset tokens and you love the space, go and find out which platforms are real and what, if there's anything you can really buy, and go and buy it. And they're the ones you probably should be supporting a lot more of. But all these new product developments, LBPs, base come down pipeline. We've got, with funding, we have the most exciting real world assets in the world. I'll say that, I debate that with anyone. We've got tokenized funds, we've got startups coming down the pipeline. It's a world away of interest and excitement than treasuries, which are good. Treasuries and money market funds serve a good part of the ecosystem. They're not really for us, and they're not for anyone in our community. So we've got the best, the most exciting RWA assets. We've got new structures coming to LBPs. We've got new protocol integrations coming. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff, and things are absolutely pumping. And of course, that's being reflected, I guess, in the performance of IXS, which we think we're still just sort of getting started. The last thing I'll say, I'll pass the mic back to Aaron. We are speaking to, one or two, a couple of the very top crypto exchanges about some new listings. That, just as a side note, that has not necessarily resulted in better performance for tokens that have listed on Binance and Coinbase this year. It's meant to, but it hasn't. But there's also, I think I just saw research, 600% more, 6 times more tokens in market today than there were 2 years ago in the last kind of cycle. So there's a lot more noise and a lot more, crappy projects and a lot more competition for eyeballs. the point I'm trying to make is that we are focused on getting on one or two of the top tier ones. It's very, very expensive, insane costs related to that. And with all of this meme coin mania, there's a lot of random projects that are paying insane amounts of money because they've got nothing else to do and they don't have any products to build. So that is the reality. So it's very competitive. It's very expensive. The exchanges are not asking for a lot of money, and there's a lot of noise and competition to get there. But I think we offer a very, very important strategic value to crypto exchanges in terms of being able to help them on the RWA side, which really very few people on the planet can say that. So it's very strategic. We're hard at work there. I know everyone wants to see more listings. We want to see more listings. We've got to also balance the cost of these listings and the results, and also getting the listings. But I think volumes and all of that related to access has been very, very strong, and most of that is on Uniswap, which can't be manipulated. So our volumes are very much a lot more real than a lot of other projects out there that are washing like crazy on exchanges. But again, that's just solid projects, and I think that's probably everything I can think of today. Aaron, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, maybe we can actually go through some of the questions that the community had. I think we've covered quite a few of the questions over the AMA already. First couple of questions were on base, which we've covered already. And then I think someone asked our SaaS services, how are we partnering with centralized exchanges and how are we integrating with them? There are two different paths that we're actually taking right now with the SaaS development. One path was what I described to you guys earlier, where there are groups of asset managers or issuance companies that want to issue multiple assets. They're coming directly under the IXS sort of launchpad and DEX, and the layout is going to be exactly the same. The other approach that we're taking right now is that we are actually looking at working with some of the centralized exchanges to help them legalize their sort of back-end infrastructure for RWAs. And this is to allow them to actually issue RWAs on their platform. This is still early days, and we've been in discussion with them for, I guess, a couple of months already. And then this is still going to last, I guess, quite a while before anything comes to fruition. But there is that path that we're taking right now, where we are trying to build out funds. We're trying to build out legalized channels for the centralized exchanges to issue RWA assets. Okay, so that's on the SaaS platform. Let me see what else. Developments. Someone asked another question again on the developments in the USA. The team has not really, I guess, been actively looking for alternative white labeling partners in the USA. That said, there was an interesting development, I guess, this month. There was a team from the USA that actually flew down to Singapore that actually wanted to have a chat with us to discuss potential JV of using our tech to basically go out into the US market and do the same thing as what we're doing in Asia right now. So that might be an interesting development, but again, that's not the focus for us right now. Our focus is actually building out the platform for Asia and the rest of the world. And if we do find an appropriate, I guess, US partner for this, we'll definitely be keen to bring them on. Jules, do you want to touch base on, I guess, any of the funding updates? I think we gave a couple of teasers and there are a couple of questions on this on the AMA as well.
What number is this? Community questions. Okay, cool. Well, so yeah, we've been looking ahead at our roadmap, product development. We've been obviously keeping a tight eye on our burn rate. The other thing that has been a reality in our industry over the last 5-6 years is most people who raised a lot of money died. There's one or two left, but that certainly was important to try to control costs as much as anything throughout the the unknown ups and downs and all the fun stuff with COVID and cycles that we've been through. We have secured some recent equity investments. Spartan was one name out there. I think we're waiting on just confirmation of a couple of other brands that we will mention. There's been VCs that have sent money. There's been bank bank venture capital, very very big bank. So that's committed in the bank. We've got some very interesting discussions. We're really looking at strategic investments. Predominantly now focusing on the DeFi side. We do have a mixture of TradFi, DeFi LPs on our cap table. We're really looking not just for money, we're looking for distribution partners, origination partners, who's going to help us build the platform out in the capacities of either Launchpad or Accelerator or AMM. So yeah, we're hard on that. It's been fundraising in general for startups. Again, not talking token sales, has been probably the worst in nearly 2 decades. So outside of blockchain, just in fintech startups, the fundraising's been a bit of a disaster. And then, a lot of the blockchain investor community, if you will, are just solely focused on tokens and, pumping and dumping tokens regardless of what is said. So yeah, we'll continue to have those discussions. That's quite a frequent inbound, but there's a few target companies we're speaking to. We're in no rush to do this. We plan to, make announcements as they come out. But whatever we announce is real. And hopefully these guys can help us build the business apart from, raising more capital. Most of our focus now is on product development and sales as we roll out throughout the rest of this year at least. So that's that one. What number are we up to here, Aaron? We've got another 5-6 minutes.
We've actually covered most of it except for the last one. But maybe, Gene, you might want to give some updates on the marketing side.
I thought you meant the last one. It says, how soon will the token value reach $15?
Oh, yeah. That was the last one. We should end on that.
No one wants to see that more than we do. That's my only answer. I don't have another answer for that. Yeah, Gene, why don't we roll it back to you if you want to share some of the latest and greatest on your side. You should definitely be doing some talking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you guys have been noticing, marketing has been a lot of activity for IXS. We just want to start quickly. Why Philippines and why Korea? Well, we went down to the Philippines last month, and it's been great because IXSwap always markets itself as its decentralizing access, for all investors to private markets, and it's never been more apparent than it is now. Starting with some numbers for CKGP, with those 400 investors, 90% of those users were actually users that invested $1. So it just heightens the narrative that IXSwap is sticking true to what it is that it's trying to do, which is bridging TradFi and DeFi. And it's never been more apparent in markets like Philippines and Vietnam. And another thing that I want to touch upon is why South Korea? Well, IXSwap being the first mover in the space and getting its license early, it's one of the advantages is because a lot of these South Korean issuers are actually coming to IXSwap now is because we're the only ones with a global retail license to actually get them on a platform and get their assets and their token RWA issuance to actually gain a global market, global retail audience. And it's never been able. It's something that they've been trying to circumnavigate, and that's something that is a solution that only IXSwap can offer. And that's something that we've been pushing on. So if you guys have been noticing, that's something that we will be announcing and that we have been announcing. And that's something that I think a lot of people are so interested in is why, K contents and why that is because the market and the demand for them is growing. And the solution the problem that they have is how do they get more of these, global demand to actually come in and invest into these contents and what they have. And the answer to that is IXSwap. So that's a lot of the reasons why we've been heavily into these markets because we are actually basically a lot of what we're building is the solution to a lot of their problems. And for marketing updates, it's really going to be interesting for Q3 because a lot of our users have actually been telling us like we want to provide you guys with more activity, more incentives, and a lot of more things to do with IXSwap, and that's definitely going to come down the pipeline, and it's going to come down relatively soon. So you guys better stay in touch for that and stay active in our channels, and we'll definitely get you guys up to speed on what's going on once we start rolling out those updates. But yeah, that's a little briefer on the marketing that we've been doing. That's a little something from me. I guess pass it back to you guys for closing remarks, and we can officially end this session.
Yeah, cool. Well, Aaron, after you.
I think we covered quite a fair bit today already. So I guess thanks everyone for joining us today. Stick around. There are going to be a lot of updates, a lot of developments on IXS, and hopefully we're going to see a large push from the KOLs and I guess the marketing team in the next couple of months, and we'll hopefully get over our all-time high soon. $15 soon, I mean.
Yeah. Not allowed to say that, or you get yelled at. But yeah, $15. Yeah, I think thanks for everyone taking time. Really appreciate and the support. We do have a lot of stuff cooking, and we do have a new wave of call it marketing partners who have joined us. There's a lot of interesting products and projects that are coming down the pipeline. If you do know of any startups that are looking to raise money with an equity token, send them our way. If you know of existing RWA assets or projects or products, they want secondary trading, they don't have any, send them towards the team. We're excited to see how we can help everyone. We will help every single RWA out there in the world create liquidity for them for their own projects if we can get it up and running. So thanks for the support. Super excited about what's coming down the pipeline. Stay tuned, and thanks Gene and team for putting all this together. Thanks everyone.
All right, thanks everyone for coming in, and we'll see you in our channels. Thanks everyone.
Thanks guys.